problem. We are still neophytes at running a photocopier and other office equipment. Sorry about that, Peter. My apologies. The administrator's report actually is for 2 months because our regular meeting was replaced by the AGM in April. There we go. It's been a busy couple of months in the meantime. At any rate, let me just put my notes down in front of me so I don't forget anything. We ended up looking for a new, we started looking for a new administrator in March. We got that process underway and the results are sitting here before you. I have a lot of confidence in Mr. Mason. He has a wealth of business experience. Kind of scared the pants off him when I started talking about the financial stuff, but he's a bright guy and I know he's going to get it. Not going to be a problem. I've been enjoying working with him for the last couple of weeks, so every day I'm more confident that he's the right man for the job. The water billing, well, we've been having lots of fun with the water billing. I've worked with Right Water many years ago, and I don't remember a thing, so it is not the most user-friendly program, so we really had lots of fun getting that March bill out. At least this time we have a little bit more experience, it's getting a little bit easier, and we didn't have to deal with 2 feet of snow over top of all the meters as well. So it's getting a little slicker as we go on. Gord's making lots of notes, because I did. The election, I have a separate report for the election, and we all know the results. It's the 2 trustees, the incumbent trustees were returned very closely. The water filtration project was probably this thing you want to hear most about. So we had the RFP, the request for proposal, which is a tender process, closed on May 2nd, and we received 2 bids. One was from the EWC, which is a Surrey firm, I believe, isn't that right, Gord?
Yes.
Surrey. And Napier Reed, which is an Ontario firm, and we're analyzing the respective bids at this time. And there is actually, if you check our website, an additional meeting, a special meeting posted for May 31st here. And the idea is that if one of the bids only has a 30-day time limit, so if we're going to take it, we have to have that meeting ready to go. I need to do 2 weeks' notice. It may be canceled if something comes up and we're not going to recommend that particular bid, but that's on the books for now. And look for further events on that. This process that we're just concluding now allows us to purchase, is going to select a supplier for the filtration equipment. The next step, as we've talked about before, it's complicated. Our engineers will take that supply equipment that we contracted for and create a specification for a structure to go around it, for all the pipes that can be connected, all the electrical that has to come in, what kind of site we have to deal with. And of course, we're still working with every last minute to try and keep all our costs down. So the site is still a question, and we're still moving on it. But we have to decide in time for the engineers to get their site plan together so that we can get the second RFP out to actually put the building in and install the unit. I think I had some questions on the Island Health in that process. So once again, we're probably not going to have our construction permit by August 31st. The plan at this point is to get the information to the Island Health as quickly as we have it. Normally they would be sitting on it for a couple of months anyway, so I was sitting on it as contract. They'd be analyzing it for a couple of months before they issue the construction permit. So there's almost no way that we could possibly at this time, even if everything goes wonderfully, have the construction permit in place. What's going to happen after that? I don't really know. Island Health is playing it very, very carefully. They haven't told us other than that they would have to consider their options. Their previous older discussions had said that, you know, if you're showing significant progress, then we'll consider all this stuff. Their last statement to me is we'll consider our options. So what that means, I don't know. We will find out. I actually don't expect it to be serious as long as we are moving ahead with the project, as long as we have the equipment purchased, as long as we have the contractor selected. I can't see them really giving us that much of a difficulty on missing that deadline. But they haven't refused in any way, shape, or form to extend that deadline. Committees. Okay, we had the 2 standing committees. We asked for volunteers for it. I've had exactly 2 volunteers, 1 for each committee. They happen to be husband and wife. Thank you very much. And we're still looking for volunteers for the standing committees. That's the fire committee, fire department committee, and the public works committee. And I also reading through notes and procedures that we should have called for another committee at the AGM, and that was for the review of trustee remuneration. That takes place every 2 years, and the next year will be 2018. That will be 2 years since the last time we did this. So we would expect a report. It doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be raises or anything. It's just we need a couple of citizens to volunteer to do the research to say what's being paid to other communities for similar size boards and responsibilities, and recommend whether we should change the remuneration. So if anybody's feeling publicly motivated, then there's those 3 committees that you could certainly serve your community with. Okay. Another board report on the election process and the results. So as you know, we didn't, most of you know anyway, I think most of you are probably there. The AGM, we didn't have the election on at the time of the AGM, and it's our first time doing that, and we actually engaged a elections officer to run the election because I was running around trying to get a water filtration plant together, and he did a great job. We got our new procedures to the board in time for the election. We learned a lot. We tried a lot of things that we're going to try and learn from. For example, when we had the voting day was actually at the end of Easter week, so everybody was away. And I didn't realize that at the time, and I didn't even make the connection when everybody showed up at the pre-election, pre-vote, at the advance poll. So we had far more people at the advance poll than we did the actual voting day. And the advance poll kind of swamped us at the office, so the office is not an appropriate place to have the advance poll, even on a regular date, so we will be moving the whole operation away from any competition with Easter week, and we will be having both the advance poll and the actual poll here, so we have room in case we get crowds. So those are the 2 biggest things. There's a few other minor details that are in my report that we're looking at changing and trying to get better. I don't think any of these things affected the outcome of the election, so that's good. I haven't had anybody formally challenge the election. It's been well over 2 weeks now, so that window has closed. It was incredibly close. I've never seen anything like that before. The 1 vote difference is amazing. If you're looking at the spoiled ballots and saying, there's 2 or 3 spoiled ballots that could have made a difference. The spoiled ballots, when we say about a spoiled ballot, that is somebody went into the polling booth, made a mistake on their ballot, and requested a fresh ballot. It never went in the box, it was never counted. And it was not our decision to do that. The voter actually did. So there's only one actually rejected the ballot, and it was clear from the ballot that the voter did not intend to vote for any of the candidates. They actually tried to do it right, and it wasn't in person. So there wasn't anything there that would have changed anything. Actually, no, it was the CVRD, and I don't think they were actually a candidate. We have actually got a surfeit of old ballots at the office. I do think I know why, because the election happens, and we have 2 meetings, and it's not quite 60 days or whatever I have to do. I think it's 60 days, and then we get into the summer, and then nobody remembers by the fall. So I actually have 3 years worth of ballots in the office. But I will be asking to have destroyed it once we get past the due date. Okay, that's that for that. Let's move on to the financial report. What are we at? We're at January, February, March, April, May, June. Coming up just on 5 months, actually, for the percentages right, Gordon?
Yes.
Yeah, 5 months. 5 months. Okay, what was the percentage? Most of our budget. Yes.
Sorry, I've been trying to get your attention. Could you perhaps explain the last paragraph where you're talking about with regards to the election, we would suggest up to 10 election workers?
We used, workers is the correct word, that's what it should be. Sorry.
That's what it should be.
We used 3 people from our auditors who are incredibly expensive, and while they are completely impartial to the vote, we feel that we can design a system where two people are watching each other all the time. And so personal biases fall out of anything that happens. We found when we went to count the ballots, we could have used a couple of extra people just to speed up the process and make it more accurate. We also had no relief really to take people off and put people back on. So what I'm going to be suggesting for next year is that we offer a standard day fee for people to volunteer to work for the election. You would get a stipend rather than get an hourly pay. We also use our own staff at hourly rates too, which is also hideously expensive. That includes me. So most communities pay so much a day. You work the election, you work until it's done for the day, if it counts, and you work the count as well until it's done. It might be a 12 or 14-hour day in some cases, but you get whatever, usually about $250. And that would be a lot cheaper than doing it the way we did it. It was very expensive to pay me, pay Gloria, to pay our auditors, all to be there for all that time. So we're going to try and save you some money next year that way. We'll need some volunteers, so if you're looking to volunteer again to help your community, when we call for volunteers to work the election, please step forward. Okay, Suzanne?
I would like the word corrected in the minutes, for clarity.
Can the election work?
Did you have a question, Jim?
Yeah, I also have a question, two questions actually. We didn't employ auditors this time for the election, did we?
Yes, we did.
Oh, I didn't realize we did that.
Yeah, there were 3 auditors there on Saturday and 1 auditor at the advance poll.
Auditors being...
People from our auditors.
Okay, I thought we decided we weren't going to employ the auditors that Peter was going to run the election. But anyway, okay, so there were auditors there. Just a question on this total ballots cast, etc. It says the spoiled ballots were identified and placed at the request of the voters at the time of voting. So I'm taking it that someone came out of the spot where they marked the ballot, and they came to the ballot box and then requested another ballot. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so they were not given another ballot.
They were given another ballot. We took the ballot that they spoiled and we kept it. It did not go in the ballot box. It was not counted. And it was never in the ballot box.
So it says where they were not deemed spoiled at the judgment of the election staff.
In other words, it wasn't. I'm sorry, I didn't intend to retry.
Sorry, no, just the sentence says they were not deemed spoiled. So these are the ones that they had come back from marking. They were not deemed spoiled at the judgment of election staff and were not placed in the ballot box. I don't quite understand.
I was trying to say that it wasn't our decision to declare those spoiled ballots. It was a decision of the voter. They made the wrong mark in the wrong place, or we never looked at them. We don't know what they look like or why the voter decided they wanted another ballot.
Okay, so I'm just curious then about the sentence here that says they were not deemed spoiled at the judgment of election staff and were not placed in the ballot box.
Okay. All I'm saying is that they didn't show us the ballot, and we didn't make any decision as to whether it was spoiled. It was strictly at the request of the voter. As a spoiled ballot, it did not go into the ballot box. It was not counted. It was not even looked at by anybody on the staff.
Well, so it was their decision not to place it in the ballot box.
That's correct.
Okay. It reads as if it was the election staff decision.
No,
It's confusing.
we didn't decide. They were brought to us by somebody from the booth, and they said, "Can I have another ballot? I've spoiled one."
Right.
So, of course, the spoiled ballot was not counted and did not go in the box.
I guess an additional sentence would need to be stated that, because it's very confusing when you read it. Perhaps when you read it, you'll see for yourself.
Okay. All right, we all just go around the subject of everything, except we didn't, the number of ballots is not the number of votes cast. Of course, everybody could vote for 2 people, so that does not add together. Okay, all right, can we move on? Yeah. All right, financial statements. Let's start with the revenue and consolidated sheet. Water tolls, we had, at the time of writing this, we had 2 billings done, and that's roughly the percentage of, actually we're a little higher, which is good. I'd like to be high in the billing. Okay, -$18 is a negative somebody had the penalty reversed for whatever reason, I don't know what it was, it wasn't, came before I arrived. Capital expenditure charges, we've actually had more CECs. No, we haven't got any maintenance revenue. Actually, I don't know what it constitutes maintenance revenue. I believe that I'd have to check that one out. I don't realize, I don't know why I didn't check it in the first place. That's maintenance revenue. That would be work done by our public works department or fire department. Yes, the landowner or someone else. I need to follow through with that one and find out what's going on. It's fairly substantial considering it's only normally $4,000 or $1,000. Oh, okay. Yes.
BC Ferry?
Could well be. We did install large meters for BC Ferries at their cost.
I think it's all of that.
That could well be it. Thank you, Peter. Most of our stuff is within range. We bill all of, when we go down to expenditures, other than county, is billed all at once. They send us a bill. So it's not like it's over 12 months, it's all paid at once. So that's almost 100%. Well, over 100%. Information technology costs, we had a server failure just as I got here. So that has ballooned that somewhat more than we'd like at the beginning of the year. Insurance is all paid at once again, so that's all paid up. It's not something that's paid over 12 months. Most of the rest of them are within range. In fact, pretty much everything is within range that you might expect at this point. Vehicle insurance, again, at the bottom is also something that's paid all at once. You don't pay it over 12 months, so you can, but we don't. I should have made all those divide by zero, but that's just the way the Excel spreadsheet works. Trying to divide one zero by another zero, two produces an error. So you see some of the same topics, and what we're looking at when we look at the fire department and the public works department, basically we charge the department share. Part of my salary goes to both the fire department and goes to public works. Similar to the trustees, similar to all the office expenses. So essentially, going through those the things that are really under the control of the fire department or the public works would be gas and vehicle maintenance. And you're down at the bottom. They're pretty much within the range at the moment. The vehicle repair for the public works is over. So they had a major job done on the truck. What we didn't expect to do. Fire department, again, we haven't yet. The reason there's no revenue for fire department is because our primary revenue for the fire department is the taxes collected that are forwarded to us for the fire department budget, and we haven't received that money yet. Should be on track. Good, it feels about right, but that's an vehicle insurance, no, that's right, vehicle repair and maintenance is about right for the fire department. And the last is the lighting, which is relatively minor, although we just paid 3 months worth of electrical for them, that's going to bump it up a little bit. So generally speaking, we're within parameters on our budgets and our expenses against the budget. Do the trustees have any questions for me? I'll ask that before we move on.
Where is the line, or what is it called for unpaid
Parcel taxes.
parcel taxes?
Accounts receivable, those are balance sheet items, this is a revenue statement, so it's just not there. It doesn't appear in this item. Now, there's parcel tax revenue there, but that isn't what's receivable, that is the whole parcel tax.
So when do we get a statement about accounts receivable?
And we can do that anytime you like. Shall I come for the next meeting? Is that the wish of the board?
I would, yeah.
Is that the wish of the board?
I know that we have that, and we discussed that, yeah.
Okay. What would come to you then is a balance sheet that will show all of our other accounts, revenue and income is just what we spent versus what we've taken in. Our balance sheet shows the balance of all of our asset and liability accounts, which is a different kind of line. Okay?
Yeah, so,
In fact, I'll try to get something, the next board meeting, I'll have something for the public, and I'll try to get something to you.
great,
soon.
thank you.
Okay, I believe that concludes me. You going to do the fire chief's report? Okay.
Thank you, Martin. We're moving on here to Fire Chief's report. Primary purpose of this report is to keep the Union Bay Improvement District Board informed as the activities and progress on major programs and our objectives. So we go down to the incident summary. They had 3 incidents in April. First responder, they're all first responder calls. And the total time worked 58 minutes, average time on call 19, total number of responders 6, average number of responders 2. Bring to your attention the open fire bans in Coastal Fire Center. There's no open fire bans in place. Refer to the BC Wildlife Management Branch website for the latest information on current restrictions. As to training, 6 members completed their medical first responder recertification course. The course required every 3 years to maintain competency, all of their training ongoing. Vehicles and vehicle safety. Comox E33, the engine we're proposing to purchase, is to undergo a safety and mechanical inspection on May the 11th to ensure it is mechanically sound and roadworthy before we complete the transfer. Current strength of membership is 20 members. Fire hall, interior lighting upgrading underway, overhead door and E25 bay upgraded with an automatic opener. The occupational health and safety is an in-board meeting that they have. It's laid out there for you. I won't get into it. It's fairly self-explanatory. So this was submitted by Mr. Jackson, Fire Chief. And I will move on to the Water Superintendent, Public Works Superintendent's report. The Langley Lake, the log boom has failed again from a log breaking in half. The logs are roped together and are doing well. This summer, the booms and chains will be replaced. This has been a problem for a while, and we have had plans to address it this summer. And I believe Mr. McGill has things underway for that as we speak. We had repair at First Street and on Kilmarnock during this period. New water meters in and working good for BC Ferries. Terminal's going through 50 cubic meters a month and maybe more for the summer. So water stats in 1.80 MTU, out 1.05 MTU. Chlorine 1.45 parts per million free. I remember that. Tank level is 35 centimeters in full. Water temperature 7.9 degrees Celsius. Water consumption is 610 cubic meters per day. Langley Lake height 5 centimeters. Yes.
I just want to ask a question. I'm not sure if you can answer it, Peter. I'm just curious, does BC, what rate do they pay? Is there a different rate? Is there a commercial rate? Or I'm just curious, what does BC Ferries pay? And if you don't know, just...
That's a good question. I assume it's just, it's the same that...
Same rate as everyone.
Yeah.
We
I assume that it's the same rate that we pay, is it? Do we have a commercial rate?
We do that.
We do. Okay, then I would assume that they pay the commercial rate then. Yeah.
Maybe we could find out what that commercial rate is. I'm curious.
Sure.
I don't know off the top of my head, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know either, but yeah, there is a commercial rate and then there's a landowner's rate.
Thank you.
Thank you. On to, this was read out at the AGM, so I won't get into that. It's attached here for your information. One thing I would like to point out, though, is on your landowners update, and I'll read this out to you just in case you didn't get the full update. There'll be the McLeod Road Reservoir cleaning and water line flushing. So please be advised the McLeod Road Reservoir tank will be cleaned on Tuesday, June 6th. Water line flushing is scheduled for June 13th, 14th, and 15th. The water may be highly colored and turbid at this time, but will continue to be chlorinated. Water pressure fluctuations may also occur. Avoid laundry mishaps by running water until it's clear before starting. Consumers using water during this time should be aware that water quality could change rapidly. It is therefore advisable to keep an ample supply of potable on hand or in your refrigerator until the situation clears. People with immune deficiencies should boil water during this period. Water quality is checked daily and residents will be notified by a local radio if a boil water advisory were to occur. So if you want any further information, call the office at 250-335-2511.
Peter, just a correction here on this Public Works report. It says that Langley Lake height is 5 centimeters. I think that might be a misprint.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, actually,
That's right.
that's the height of the water over the
Yeah.
spillway. Is that,
Yes,
That's the height of the water over the spillway.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's always in there and it's always the same. So, yeah. Okay. Could I get a motion from the board to accept these reports for filing?
So moved. I second it.
Okay. Then the reports will be accepted and filed. We move on now to old business. And I believe there's nothing listed here. Martin, is that correct? Okay, so we next move on to new and other business. The first item of business there is a motion to grant Chief Administrator Officer Gordon Mason signing authority on behalf of Union Bay Improvement District. Well, he is so employed, as I understand it. So could I get a motion from the board to grant signing authority to Mr. Mason?
I make a motion that we give Gordon Mason signing authority.
Have a seconder? Okay. Those in favor, raise your hand. Okay. Motion is carried, and Mr. Mason will have the signing authority. The next is, you had an item of that you wish to bring forward.
I think we're going to have to buy some mics. Okay, under new business here, I want to discuss or have a discussion about audio-video recording at our meetings. I believe we had 12 emails concerned about the fact of the abuse of the video recordings on the internet. So from those emails, there's also emails talking about in the discussion part of the meeting, people being recorded, which is actually not supposed to be done. So there's several things that aren't right with what we're doing here. In bylaw 263, it states, item 61, where a concern arises involving inappropriate recording or sharing of personally recorded audiovisual material, the board will review the use and may take any such action as it considers appropriate against any person found to be contravening this restriction. So, out of these emails and out of the concerns on how bylaw 263 is actually not being really enforced the way it should be, I make a motion that bylaw number 263 regarding audio-video recording at our improvement district meetings be suspended until we evaluate the options available to us. We need to adapt a process that is beneficial to the improvement district, ratepayers, and trustees.
Okay, we have a motion from trustee Bitton asking that we examine the provisions of bylaw 263 with